My name is Lexi Cuddy. I like to race a lot with all my friends, and I ride a PW50, and I love to race. 5 years old.
Where do you live?
Canada.
Coming Up Next Time podcast is made possible with help from our friends at Bow Valley DJ, Yeti Mechanical Systems, as well as Built to Ride. If you enjoy this podcast, one of the best ways you can help out is to share it with a friend. Share links to your favorite episodes on your socials. If you wish to contribute directly, head over to www.comingupnexttime.com and become a patron. All funds raised will go towards our giveaways, as well as they help out local clubs through our sponsorship program. Coming Up Next Time is a proud sponsor of the Rocky Mountain Dirt Riders Association. Since 2004, Rocky Mountain Dirt Riders Association has been working to take care of our local Alberta trail systems. Whether you're an experienced rider or new to the sport, the RMDRA welcomes you. Hello everybody and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Barry Moore. Just want to take a second to acknowledge the fact that it's been kind of erratic between podcast episode releases. I've got a whole bunch recorded. I'm just finding it difficult to get into the studio, so to speak, so that I can put them out for you all. Anyhow, on to this week's episode. My next guest is an Alberta native, an adventure seeker and adrenaline junkie, X Games champion, into snowcross, skydiving, and wingsuits. If you talk to him about anything he's passionate about, it's so infectious that you just want to run out and do it yourself. I can't wait to share this episode with you, and I hope you enjoy it. Coming up next, this is Cody Matechuk. Right away after, it just sounds sort of fucked up. But I'm laughing at your jokes as you start telling them, and then it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So first off, man, I'll just get you to introduce yourself to everybody.
My name's Cody Matechuk, professional snow biker, among other things. Three-peat X Games gold medalist from Cochrane, Alberta.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's like your snow biking stuff is what people were sending to me. How did you get into snow biking? It's like I was telling my kid, it's essentially the Supercross of Canada. Like,
it really is, right? Yeah, it's in our blood.
Yeah.
For me, it was kind of a easy transition. Just right place, right time. I was into snowmobiles and into motocross and watching the snow bike revolution come up and get better. And when it was time, I ended up trying someone's snow bike, and it was kind of shit, to be honest, but I could understand where it could be with work and with suspension and development. And I was immediately like, this is something I could see myself doing, and I listed my sled as soon as I got back from that trip. I had it sold within a week and bought my first snow bike kit. This was 2015, 2016 winter, and put that kit on, and kind of the rest was history after that. The next year they introduced X Games, so all of a sudden back into racing and back into the grind. But it was kind of just a right place, right time as the evolution of snow bikes came up. Got in early, and it seemed to fit with the type of riding that I wanted to do and that I already was doing. So it was kind of an easy transition.
Nice. Are you still out in Cochrane, or?
I am, yes.
Okay. No, I'm just down the road.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So locally, where would you find yourself riding then? You're still going to be driving to Revy and things like that, right?
I've always, seemed to gravitate towards Revy or further. I have ridden Golden a little bit. Just always seemed to be a little bit disappointed compared to going to Revy. Like, the snow in interior BC sets up so perfectly for snow bikes that it's just the way the layers form for jumping and dropping. It just works so good, because you do a big drop on a snow bike and you watch the slow-mo footage of it all. Our heads are actually going like below the snowpack. So that's, 5-6 feet into the snowpack. So there's a lot of layers that have to line up to be able to do the big jumps. Yeah. And interior BC provides. The last couple years I've been out on the coast doing some exploration and just wanting to ride some different mountains. And the coast is provided really good as well. But yeah, tend to at least go to Revy. But I mean, everywhere's good, especially if you're into just exploration, Golden, Fernie, anywhere around here. There's places to ride snow bikes, really open up the terrain.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you ever tried Fortress or out behind Fortress?
I have on a snowmobile, actually. I haven't rode snow bikes out there, but I got one day. There's a glacier out there by Fortress, or no, by I can't remember what the glacier is called.
Oh,
I went riding a little bit out there, but not a lot.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I feel for snow bikes. You want like a good amount of snow. Like,
yeah, it's hard to say. Like the crusty stuff kind of sucks, but it sucks for everything.
Yeah.
But you can also have a lot of fun. Like if you're just just play riding, enduro riding, going for adventure, you can have more fun in less snow than on a snowmobile. Because on a snowmobile, you need that side hill action. You need to dip a ski in. You need to be able to maneuver through the deep snow to make it easier. Where snow bikes, you can get away with more and still go exploring. So you might not be able to get the jumps. I would say in less snow, you can jump a snowmobile bigger.
Okay.
But in less snow, you can go more places on a snow bike. So it depends the type of riding.
That's fair. Yeah. I've never really ridden them. I had a few friends go for the, out in Revy, do the tour groups and whatever.
Yeah.
One guy has a really great story he'll never share with the public, which is sad because it's awesome. I bug him every time, man, but no. So one thing I've noticed this year, I never noticed it before, but I'm sure I've seen it without observing it. Sleds now, they have like just one. There's a lot of people riding with a single ski in the front of their sleds. Are they like trying to find a hybrid version of the snow bike sled combo?
Well, I think it's always been trying to be there. I mean, back 20 years ago ish is when the Snowhawk first started coming about, which is the snowmobile. I forget who made it, Polaris but anyways, the Snowhawk. It was a one-skied snowmobile. They had 600cc versions, 800cc versions, and then they got away from that. And then snow bikes kind of got better and bigger. Now there is called Exo Sled, which I'm actually been trying to link up with them to try and ride one because I want to see what it rides like.
Yeah.
They're out of Sycamoose, I believe. But yeah, they have one ski conversions for modern day sleds, which is interesting. Haven't rode one, haven't been on one, so can't say anything either way.
Yeah.
I know a snow bike would be awesome with 100 horsepower. It'd be really rad.
Yeah.
But we're stuck to 450 chassis unless you want to do crazy custom builds. Yeah. But it's just you approach it differently. It's not a sled, it's a snow bike, and you don't ride the same way. You don't take if you have a hill, you don't take the hill the same way as you would a sled. So I find a lot of people have troubles on snow bikes because they buy a snow bike, they go with their sled buddies and they try and follow them. And it doesn't really work that way. You can go places that sleds can't go, and sleds can go places that you can't go in a way. Usually you can get there on a snow bike, but it takes a little more work and it takes a different kind of like a think outside the box perspective. Okay. And I have a lot of fun riding with sleds personally because I can be up on the ridge and feel like I'm providing like an overwatch for my little crew that's down there. And they're like riding valley bottom, they poke up here and they poke up there. But the entire time I'm by myself riding a ridge or riding above them and having a blast. So it's really about how you want to navigate terrain because it's definitely different than a snow bike or snowmobile.
Okay. Is it kind of akin to the relationship quads and bikes?
In a way, we definitely make some jokes on sledders about being quads, but snowmobiles these days have gotten quite incredible. Stock turbo 2-strokes out there ripping. They work amazing. They're still not snow bikes.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there. And I don't know which way it's going to go, whether the sled market's going to develop into a snow bike market. I mean, they're getting narrower and taller every single year. or if it's someone on the snow bike side is going to come out with a purpose built, who knows? Right now, it's definitely it's two separate things for sure.
That's fair. So you mentioned the X Games there. How did you like? It's kind of very fortunate, right? Like 2015, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna try out the snow bikes, and then 2016, they're like, hey, we need some people to look like fucking crazy people.
Yeah.
So then you get into snowcross.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting year. I remember it specifically because it was the fall of 2016. We were at the Edmonton Snowmobile Show. And right around there, I don't remember if it was during the snow show, just before or just after, but they X Games released that they were going to have snow bike cross in there for the first time. And this was my going on to be second year on snow bikes. Just signed a deal with Yeti to ride their snow bikes, and all of a sudden, oh shit, we're going racing again. So it was kind of it wasn't like a easy all of a sudden invite, here we're at X Games.
Yeah, no.
I ended up loading up the truck and trailer by myself, driving to Minnesota a week before. They had qualifiers, X Games qualifiers in Elk River, Minnesota at ERX Motorsports Park. And I drove out there with Ray's Motorsports, who was like a crazy performance snowbike company. At the time, they had made a custom built supercharger for KTMs, and they had nitrous kits and all sorts of Ray's ECUs, performance parts. So I drove down there to ERX, met up with them. We hooked the bike up. I put like basic stuff into it. I put cams and high compression piston and a pipe, tried to do as much as I could without doing a full motor build. And then we did a bunch of ECU testing, and then we're thrown into that weekend of qualifiers for the X Games. And that was definitely a hard fought battle. There was qualifier rounds. We made it to the main. In the main, I had a crash. It put me pretty far back in the field. And then we had a red flag, which was a restart. And we did like a single stage restart, and I was sitting like 13th place with 3 or 4 laps to go. Oh. And tooth and clawed my way back up to third place, I think it was. And they took the top 4 for X Games. So rolled the dice, got into X, and then went and raced that was fall 2016, and then the first X Games was 2017 January.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
So when you get to the X Games, how was that? Like, it's pretty, I imagine it'd be a little more surreal than, say, going to World Cup or anything for downhill. Like, just all the
It was interesting. Like, very, very interesting. I had, you show up to a big event like that. I've been to a couple pretty big events, and you think one thing, but it turns out to be another. And that's how X Games turned out. It was very TV orientated. I figured, the snow bike stuff, that stuff would definitely be, but what got me is watching slope style, like snowboarding and skiing. You can go, the mountain stays open the entire time. I had my snowboard there, so we did a couple laps, and you'd snowboard down, stop by a jump in the middle of the run and the slope style run, watch them go. All of a sudden you see a dude doing like a triple cork, whatever, and land, and then he's gone. It's all silent. You don't hear anything. And 5 minutes later, some other guy comes over and does the same thing. And it's, other than being like down in the valley bottom, or, half pipe is a big thing where it's a big spectator sport.
Yep.
Most of it's very silent. Like, you don't hear big announcements going. You don't hear the constant chatter of the TV talk when you're on the mountain, because it's all production for the TV show. So being a spectator there is actually, other than the motorsports is very inclusive. The half pipe is very inclusive, but slope style kind of blew me away. It's you never know what's going on. You don't know who's riding. You don't know when they're coming. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. That's what I get about World Cup. Like you can sit
Oh, yeah.
quietly at a spot, and then as a skier comes by, everybody rings their cowbells, and then they're gone, and it's just like, okay, so we wait. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, the
Yeah,
best
you have
place to
no
be is
idea.
at the bottom. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the coolest stuff to see is features higher up the run, but if you want the, I don't know, like you're saying, the inclusiveness to be a part of the
Yeah.
show, you got to be at the bottom.
That was a cool thing about motorsports, especially the last 2 years. I think we were there, 19 and 20. We had the biggest live crowd of the entire event, and the pits, well, not necessarily the pits, but like the starting line, the racetrack, everything was just, there were so many people there. The vibe was huge. You could hear the cheers, you could hear everything, and that was really cool. And then watching like the freestyle snowmobiles go, same thing. It was at night under the lights, just all the people, all the excitement. It was very raw and very cool to see.
That's sweet. So
Yeah.
with all the audience there for motorsports and all that, on the qualifier where you went down, did you get to hear like like all that sort of sound? Did it?
During X,
Yeah.
like at X,
Yeah.
you definitely hear a lot. When I went down, I assume you're talking about the last year when I hit that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It could have been more.
I was
clear.
like pretty panicked because it was last lap of the heat race.
Yeah.
And in X, there's no LCQs, no last chance qualifiers at all.
No.
You get a heat race and you get a main. So if you don't qualify into the heat race, you're screwed. I'm leading this heat race, and I come over a jump on the back uphill straightaway, and all of a sudden there's a guy there, and I actually ended up in practice racing earlier that year. I had this happen 2 other times where I came over a jump and there was a guy parked on the landing, and I hit. So this was actually the 3rd guy I hit in the air that season. And luckily, I don't know if I was just in practice or whatever, was able to bail off, just cleared him, able to get up and grab my bike. He was pretty hurt, unfortunately. Racing, it happens. Yeah. But no, in that certain situation, no, I didn't hear much other than me trying to get my bike started again.
That's fair. But
the crowd roars after, and just sharing that excitement after the gold medal wins, throwing the goggles, revving around the track. Yeah, it's an experience, that's for sure.
No doubt. Yeah. So winning X has got to feel like the lottery, winning the lottery that day, even though it's not a lottery, you earn it. Like, it's not like,
yeah.
There's 5 contestants. We're just going to select somebody. No, you really have to be the guy. But like,
yeah, exactly.
That's got to be surreal.
It is, for sure. It's a moment that's hard to describe. And I think most of it comes not as much from it being X Games, but the fact of it being your one chance. You know, like I said, there's no last chance qualifiers. You have a heat race and a main. It's the one weekend that we're prepping for the entire year. There's no second chance. It's not a championship like the motocross championships. It's not a supercross. It's a one and done jackpot for the world championship. And that, I think, just holds its own, just the amount of stress that you go through and that you get to overcome, and that feeling of, I don't know, self-fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's very surreal, for sure.
Have you ever not podiumed for the X Games?
Nope.
No. I'm not even going to go.
No, about one.
Talk that way again.
one bronze the first year, and that kind of lit the fire. I wasn't going to lose again.
So as a champion, do you feel like a little bit of, I don't know, like, oh fuck, he's here when you're going there, like the guy who thinks he's gonna, like, I don't know, there's probably somebody who's hoping to be who's going to be 4th, so they're hoping somebody that's going to be first to third doesn't show, and then you show up and you get like that feeling of like, this guy is so pissed that I'm here.
A little bit. I mean, I don't race much other than some prep races and then X Games. I feel that more when I go to the Amsoil snowcross races, because we'd use those to prep, and there's guys there that are racing the whole championship that are trying to get championship points.
Okay.
So like you're riding championship points for them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, it just is what it is. We're not there competing for a championship, but we're competing for wins. So it's just a little bit different. But when it comes to X Games, I mean, especially after the first gold, yeah, you got a target on your back and you got a bunch of people
Yeah.
hunting for you. But I kind of like it. You get to use that. You get to play with their headspace.
Yeah.
I usually show up and I don't talk to a soul other than my team and just go out there and let the riding do the talking.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. That's and I can empathize with the points thing. Like you go in there to like, whatever, test and qualify and like, I don't know, getting something out of it, but not what they're after. And I can see how that would spoil some guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it is racing. Like anything with a pro class, like we have club races and things like that, and the pros can just show up and take points, right?
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah, it
Son of a
happens. But
bitch.
then again, it's the same for everything. If that guy gets first and second and down is the points that dished out, well, that one person just lost out on one position,
Yeah.
but so did the rest of the field.
Yeah.
And it's just racing. It is how it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the only one losing points that day, right? Like,
No.
yeah. So, and it just sort of does stay scaled, and
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not how they see it. Like, it's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
Are
I
fucked.
feel it. I
Yeah.
feel it. I understand.
Yeah,
But
it is what it is, man. So it's not the only. Like, you do a ton of stuff. Like, you're almost greedy for sports.
I get bored easy, I think.
Yeah. So what is a like I'm going to assume that snowcross is your favorite. So what other sports do you enjoy?
It's really it's a season by season thing. I mean, in the winter I love snow bikes. But, come April or come May, it's like, all right, I'm ready to put away snow bikes and get into dirt bikes and base jumping. The last 2 years I've kind of gotten into this routine where I snow bike from January to April. I ride moto from, what is that, May till September. And then I'm base jumping from October to December.
Okay.
And I mean, through the summer, I live right by the mountains. I got a wingsuit base jump that's a 35-minute drive away. And so I can keep active with my base jumping. It's definitely a big passion of mine that I think keeps me sane.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird one. But I don't think I'll ever get rid of motorcycles. I mean, they'll always be a part of my life.
Yeah.
So trying to stay busy with everything. And, you have your down days where you go mountain bike or ride a skateboard or skydiving and base jumping and freestyle and try and stay busy.
Trying to stay busy. Your
Yeah.
Moab video is pretty sick.
Moab's a good time.
Yeah.
Moab's always a good time.
What like when you're headed there, what's on the menu? Like, what are you hoping to do?
Full send. Yeah,
Full
Moab
send.
is like, it's kind of like going, I don't want to say going to X Games, but it's definitely, you know what you're getting into because things are going to get gnarly in Moab. It's in the wingsuit world, Moab's very small. It's very short starts. It's very short overalls. It's very advanced wingsuiting. The base jumping there, just like straight jumping off a cliff into parachutes. The base jumping there is world class. It's just an amazing place. And every November we have what's called a turkey boogie, where a lot of people from around the world come to Moab to base jump for the month of November during their Thanksgiving. That's why we call it turkey boogie. And so I've made a habit of every year trying to make it down for at least that, if not another trip as well. But it's just unlike anything else. Most of the time when we're flying mountains, we're flying big rock or trees, forest, and you go there and it's just all red rock boulder fields.
Yeah.
So it's just a different feel, different vibe. Now being able to go there with John, our drone pilot, and a few other friends that are all sending wingsuits there, and it's become a really cool place to be. And we get to just hike around the desert every single day and just push each other for the thrill of it instead of you're not in competition, you're not doing that, you're just literally there trying to lay down the funnest line, coolest line, whatever it is.
That's fair. And so like, yeah, positive pushing, not like big dicking.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the end of the day, we're all just trying to stay alive and looking out for each other. But yeah, it's a good time. The scariest part is usually comes towards the end of it when you stop being scared. That's when it's like, okay, I think it's time to leave.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Like
it
in the
normalizes.
there's the guy in the Red Bull video who goes through that little hole in the mountainside there, like threads the needle.
Yeah.
That guy should stop.
It's a yeah, it's a hard line because in order to stay that good, you have to do it consistently. But then if you're not being scared, then it becomes dangerous. So you got to ride the line. You got to know your limits. And I always try and when something stops being scary, I take a break from it.
Yeah, I guess so. Reset. You getting too numb.
Yeah.
So when was your first jump? Like when was the first time you did wingsuit? Were you like I guess leading up to it, would you have been doing like parachuting out of a plane, then do some base jumping, and then you're gonna do wingsuiting? Like, is that how it happened?
Exactly. Yeah, it all starts with the skydive. Everything. It's the one thing I tell everyone. All starts with a tandem skydive.
Yeah.
Give them your credit card, go for a jump. It's from there you get your solo license and you get into that and you do a bunch of learning and there's a bunch of different ways to fly your body. At jump 200 is when you're allowed to start jumping a wingsuit out of the airplane.
Okay.
And usually around 200 is when you're allowed to start base jumping. Not necessarily allowed to, because I mean, base jumping's very,
Yeah.
it's very outlaw. I mean, anyone can go just buy a parachute and go jump off something. You probably won't live, but you can do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of like there's recognized courses now and recognized schools that teach it, and that's their prerequisite is that you have 200 skydives. Okay. So for me, my path was 200 skydives, started wingsuit skydiving, and I started base jumping. And I base jumped for 3 years, I think, before I started wingsuit base jumping. And in those 3 years, I wrapped up a bunch of wingsuit skydives. And then you slowly put them together. And I've been wingsuit base jumping 3 or 4 years now, something like that.
So what's it like flying a wingsuit? Like the freedom of being able to fly?
It's like a little fighter jet, like your own personal fighter jet. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You can pull G forces at the end of your flight. If you got enough speed, you can go up. You like up all the way into a stall where we pitch our parachute. You slow right down from, you could be ripping, 200, 250 kilometers. And by the time you slow down for your parachute, you're going 60 kilometers an hour. And then you just have this nice waffly opening. Like it's so cool. It's very, very three-dimensional, everything. Yeah. It's amazing.
I was going to ask about that, like watching your flights. You do like to do the little ascension stall and like pop the chute. So I was going to ask about that, but you explained why, because it's just like it just feels.
But awesome. It slows you down too. I mean, so generally speaking, if you fall out of an airplane and you pitch a skydive parachute at terminal velocity, it will take 600 to 1,000 feet to open.
Yeah.
It's a very slow, progressive opening. If you do the same thing on a base rig, it'll take like 100 feet or 150 feet. It's a lot quicker. It's a different system. So in a wingsuit, if you were diving full out and you just pitched, you would get slapped so hard that it can knock the wind out of you. You can break your back. You can cause some harm. You could have a bad opening. So there's two things with doing the flares. It slows you down into a nice progressive opening that's very controllable and consistent if you're good at it. But it also creates terrain separation. In Moab, we run our lines sometimes all the way down to the deck. You're running it down a hill that bottoms out at 300 feet. At 300 feet, you start pulling out, and then you start going up, and you can have a parachute at 400 feet. So you're creating distance both horizontally and vertically to create a safety net for yourself.
Okay. And when looking for places to jump, like how much energy or effort do you put into that? Or you're just like, oh, that looks good enough. Like, do you guys thoroughly scout?
It depends. I mean, some things, yeah, you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's good. It's huge. Whatever, it goes. Some things it takes, weeks or months to try and create it. If it's, sometimes it's a multi-day hike in and a multi-day hike out, and you're trying to find landing areas. And if the jump's good enough, and you'll have to hike up there from the bottom and then hike up from the top and assess everything. Because you need to know your flight angle to know if you're going to clear the terrain. You need to know a landing area that you're going to go at, possibly a B landing area in case that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then your height of your cliff, that has to be a certain height depending on, and that all changes depending on weather conditions as well. If you have thermals or updrafts, downdrafts, what kind of safety margin you can get into. So you're a pilot that's creating a flight plan. So some flight plans are easy. Some flight plans are incredibly complicated.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're local to us, so I'm sure you heard, was it like 4 or 5 years ago where two guys jumped off near High Ling on wingsuits and one guy didn't make it?
Yeah, Lawrence Grassi. I've jumped that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's been 2 guys that have jumped it before me. One guy died, so it had a 50-50 chance, and then I jumped that this summer. I was the first guy since 2016 to jump it.
Yeah.
And I went up there alone, solo, because honestly, because no one in the area right now is got the skills to do the type of jump it is, because it's pretty positive.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Like positive? It's because basically the kick out of the mountains right away, right?
Yeah, it's like you're jumping kind of a hill. You're not jumping vert.
Okay.
And it's for that one, there's a 12-meter ledge at 40 meters down.
Okay.
So like what is that? 150 feet down, there's like a 30-foot ledge.
Yeah.
40-foot ledge. So it's a ledge that you can't clear just based on push. You have to clear it on your first 2 seconds of flight. You have to catch a little bit of air in order to clear it. So it's only jumpable on an updraft. The person that died, I know quite well about that story, and it was just a bit of arrogance to be respectful, but he jumped it in bad weather conditions. It was rainy and cloudy, downdrafting, and he jumped it before it was good, went up there, weather was bad, and he still jumped it. And it was just one of those things where if that particular jump doesn't have the specific weather conditions needed, you have to have the self-control to walk down, because you won't make it.
Yeah. And have you ever called off a jump?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, quite a bit. And it can be anything. It can be crosswinds, sidewinds, tailwinds. It can be the difficulty of the jump. I walked down from one in Brazil this year, which I think at the end of my Brazil trip, I probably would have jumped it. But the beginning of my trip, I wasn't quite feeling super comfy. And it was like a really gnarly 300-foot start with a mandatory 90-degree turn into this gut. And then you fly out beside this hotel that was 270 feet off the beach. And you have to flare pitch and then turn your parachute 180 in order to land back on the beach and not land in the ocean. Oh. It was just there's so many complications of this one, where at one point I was starting to zip up, starting to unpack my stuff, getting ready to jump. Weather kind of came in and out. We waited up there for 3 hours. I ended up calling it off. My other buddy called it off. And my other buddy, there's 3 of us up there. He stayed up there. He's got some more experience than me. And about 4 hours after we got up there, once we were on the bottom, he ended up jumping it and did it successfully. But it was gnarly. I mean, he had a 13-second canopy ride, and in that time he had to unzip a wingsuit, turn his canopy around, and land safely on the beach, which wasn't very big.
Okay.
So it's if anything, it just leaves exponentially less room for for error.
Yeah.
Less margin.
Yeah, you want to be able to pilot the parachute. You don't want to just be a teabag.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, yeah. There's jumps where, you put yourself in that position, but you hopefully you know the risks and you know what you're getting yourself into and you're ready for it that day. And it's not something that you're going to do sustainably every jump, you know?
Like, that's crazy. Like, okay, so we'll stick with Brazil for a second. You call it, you're like, this isn't for me. Your buddy calls it. And then your third buddy or your second buddy, the third jumper, is just like, I'm doing it. Like, do you guys not have like, I don't know. Like, if you don't feel he's going to be able to do it, is there a way to call him off? Like, is there like a rethink moment? You guys have like some kind of code to protect each other from just like getting intoxicated with it?
We got radios. There's definitely, I know what you're saying. And there has been that points with certain people. With him in particular, we spent a lot of time jumping together. I know his skill set. He knows my skill set. I know that I probably could have gotten away with it, and I know that he can get away with it. Yeah, we both know that it's a riskier jump. For me, I was feeling it for a while, and we stayed up there to a point where I was over it. Didn't care about it anymore. Wasn't worth the risk, and I was over it. I went down. We had communication from the bottom. I was standing in the parking lot, so I was able to relay data that when I was up there, we didn't have, because now he had a guy on the ground telling him about winds on the ground. He knew winds on top. So now he had one extra element of data that helped him make the choice. And I mean, the last thing I said is, what did I say? Yeah, the conditions are good. If I was up there, I'd probably go. And he said, all right, see you on the ground in a minute.
That's crazy.
And that was it. So it worked out good. He had more data. Whether I had that data when I was up there, would I have gone? I'm not sure. I would like to get that jump one day, but that's the thing with base jumps and mountains, is most likely that mountain's going to be there long after I will. So sometimes you just got to check your ego and come back to it later.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'd like to think, like, with all the jumping that you have to do in advance, you sort of worked your way through ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I remember my first jump out of a plane. It was tandem, and I thought it was really sweet. It's just like stepping into a postcard, intense speed, because I did everything right. So Buddy just kept falling. He's like, well, you know, he's like, you'll know if you screwed up because we'll pop the chute right away. But if you do everything good, we're just gonna keep going. I was like, all right. So we had a nice big fall, and then pop chute, and that's super intense. Like the elastic feeling of the resistance or whatever. And then
the slowdown of the parachute.
Yeah. And everything gets pulled on. And then what I like there after that is just the ripple of the canopy and the fact that you can hear everybody talking like way down there, because it works like a radar dish or whatever. And you're just like, you can hear the whole world. And that's pretty sweet. Like,
how was, so I got a question for you. The difference between going up in the plane to the first 3 seconds jumping out. Yeah. How is your like fear level or anxiety level?
Not too bad. Like flying up, I couldn't wait to get out of that plane because it's like
crammed in there,
and it was really being kicked around, right? Like it was such a small craft that I'm not used to that in flight, right? I'm usually in a bigger aircraft, and it's just like nice and smooth, even when it is kind of jumpy. It's not like that. But like the guy I jumped with, he was like super chill, and you know, we talked for like whatever 20 minutes beforehand, just waiting for everything to happen, and so just communicated all the way through. And I was just like, yeah, but like, you know, I don't know, maybe like a dog going to the vet. I'm just going to go there, trusting the guy, and then if it goes to shit. But I didn't have any feelings of like if I don't make it or any of that kind of stuff. Even though it was like bicycle and it's like the most dangerous of the places to go. Like that one place had like a pretty shit rep at the time.
Bicycle's actually pretty good. Most of their troubles have been not from tandems though. It's been from like, they used to teach British military there. And they had a lot of incidences with British military, and they've had incidences with students, but most of it's not tandems. It's mostly people crashing their parachutes.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like,
Was it Lance that took you?
no, his name was Barry. The same as me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then like, yeah, we had a good time and then just like went right back up again, like instantly. Like,
As soon as you step out of that plane, it's pretty calming, hey?
yeah, it's surprising. Like, it's intense. Like, I don't know how to describe it to anybody. You don't really feel like you're falling. You feel like you're flying upward. Like, that's how I feel. And it's just, it's intense. Like,
It's like it is now, but it's windy.
Yeah. And then super windy. And then, yeah, there's just like the flag sound when the canopy's opening up, and then just the instant peace. Like, it's worth it. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
Everyone needs to do it once.
Yeah, there's no way to fly like that. I guess now you can go to like iFly and fart around, like doing the
it gives you a little bit of a simulation. I like a lot of skydivers use iFly to train different body fly methods, and I do like going there. And then now there's the new thing of wingsuit wind tunnel, which there's one in Sweden that I've gotten 5.5 hours in that you fly. It's a wind tunnel, but it's on an angle. And so you can fly wingsuits in the wind tunnel, which is rad. They're building one in Florida as well. So those are going to become more popular. But yeah, it's I mean, it'll never be the same.
No.
You get a simulation, but
I guess, I mean, if they give you VR goggles and you could, I don't know, have some terrain flipping through at the same time as you're flying, but I imagine you want to see what's going on.
There is a cool startup, Marshall Miller. He's a GoPro athlete, and him and some guys started a wingsuit simulation tunnel in Salt Lake City. So if anyone's in the Salt Lake City region, I forget what it's called, but wingsuit simulation, I'm sure you'll find it if you Google it. They actually strap goggles onto you. They put you on this like pedestal. You're in a harness. You're in a wingsuit. There's fans. You push off like you're jumping, and you jump into the harness. And then the simulation that you're flying is like a terrain profile that they've created, and you can actually steer and fly the wingsuit very similar to the same characteristics or whatever, the same way that a wingsuit would fly down, same speeds, the max amount of turn, the max amount of flare, the same basically as what a wingsuit would be. And it sounds really cool. I haven't gotten to go in there yet, but these guys are using this program to actually map out new jumps around the area to see if they're jumpable or not, because they've taken their GPS data from real world wingsuit flights, programmed them into this so they can see what their maxes are based on certain weather conditions and see if certain mountains are flyable or not. That's so crazy. It's pretty cool and in depth on where it is going and can go.
So, holy crap, that's crazy. Like,
yeah,
you gotta hope that the guy doing the data input's paying attention that day, because
the guy doing the data input is actually a wingsuit pilot and one of the best base jumpers out there. So yeah, he's pretty dialed.
Yeah, that's sweet, because like the slide ruler mistake, and then somebody's like kissing the earth early or whatever. So
Ooh, I missed a decimal. Yeah,
that kind of thing. Oh my god. Okay, so when you're flying these things, like it looks like you have to be super stiff, like you're holding your arms way out to keep we'll call it the squirrel suit shape, and your legs are out to keep I guess it would be considered your rudder, right? Like the tail
wing, yeah.
Yeah. So how much strain is it on the body?
Not as much as you think. Actually, the smaller suits take more force. The smaller student suits, I hate flying student suits. I won't get in it. I'll take my big suit if I'm ever flying with the small suits.
Okay.
And they don't have as much wing. They don't have as much pressurization. So you have to hold everything open, where the big suits, everything's ram air. So they're all pressurized, and you have wing from, where's my camera? From the arm all the way down to your toe. And this whole wing pressurizes. So it kind of pushes your whole arm open, pushes your other arm open, pushes your legs open. And you can actually, not efficiently, but you can in the air, like in skydiving, lots of times I'll do it if I'm just by myself chilling. You can just take a breath and go completely limp, and the wingsuit will fly itself.
Okay.
Now, as you start adding in speed, adding in angle, adding in flight things, yeah, you're rolling, you're pushing your shoulders in, you're creating tension, but you're not like, it's not like if you don't do anything, your body's going to go into a pencil.
Okay.
You have a basic frame of there, and then from there, you're pushing it.
Okay. That's sweet. Yeah, because it's something that you just can't feel by watching it, if that makes sense.
No.
Yeah. Like,
Well, even a lot of times, like people that come over that are interested, I'll put them in one of my wingsuits and I take a leaf blower and just fill up an arm wing with their leaf blower, and it'll raise your arm damn near straight out.
oh, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very pressurized.
So who introduced you to wingsuits?
Me, myself, and I was, I don't know if you call it lucky, but I was in high school. I grew up in the era where laptops first got introduced into high school. We came from the original big Mac computers, and then all of a sudden in grade 10, they made us all buy laptops. And I bought a laptop, so I started watching YouTube videos of wingsuit base jumpers. And my goal when I was 18 was to start skydiving. I waited 2 months, I think, after I was 18, 3 months maybe, trying to get some friends to come with me. No one would come. So I booked my course and booked my first jump, my second jump, and my next 5-jump course. I booked it all. And in 2 weeks from that, I was a solo jumper working on my A license. And the first 3 years was pretty slow. I did like 35 or 40 jumps. But then after that, I had some buddies that kind of came in with me and started having more fun at the drop zone, and just took off after that.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's like, it's such a small world. Everybody knows everybody. Like, yeah, that's so fucked. I don't know, man.
Good time. But yeah, it's definitely, it's a small world, and skydiving is a small world. And then you go to base jumping and it's even smaller.
Yeah. It's like, it blows my mind. How many people are doing it? But then when you, like, I don't know, step back from that, you realize it's just a tiny little fraction, like, of like 1% of 1% of people on the planet. Like, yeah.
I mean, I like to think maybe, with everyone that's off of social media too, maybe 4,000 active base jumpers out of however many billions of people on this planet.
Yeah. It's like, it's insane. Like,
it's not very much.
No, man. No. And I mean, even it's access and takes a bit of self-abandonment, a little risk, like, especially I imagine.
Special crowd.
Yeah, there's a special crowd. Like, your first time, I can only imagine the conversation, like, it'd be like Jekyll and Hyde in the head, right? Like, yes, I'm going to do it. And like, what, are you fucking crazy? Like, and then it's happening. And then you're like, okay, that was awesome. So.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of like very similar vibes to the first time you start skydiving. It's one of the biggest fears of skydiving is trusting the parachute. But once you've learned to trust the parachute, once you start packing your own parachute and you've learned about the system, then all of a sudden everything becomes a lot more easy to relate to and easy to understand. And it's the same as base jumping. It's, at first it's scary because it's new. Yeah. But you start packing your parachute, you start working with your parachute, you start understanding what works, what doesn't work. And it's pretty chill. I mean, if I could, I would jump my base rig out of the skydive airplane every time I could. And a base rig's only one parachute. It doesn't have a reserve. It doesn't have anything. Skydiving has a reserve, which is why they do it, and it's TSA approved because you have a second parachute. Yeah. But because base has one parachute, I don't find it that much more dangerous. I mean, obviously it's more dangerous, but it's not because of the gear. It's because of the decision making, the situations that you're in. It's just a more risky environment, not necessarily the fact that the gear is more risky. I mean, it's a piece of nylon that you're throwing out into 200 kilometers an hour of air. If you've ever tried to open an umbrella in a windstorm, shit's gonna open, like it's catching wind. It is. Whether it opens straight or not, well, that's your next issue, but it's gonna open,
Yeah, that's fair. And it's logical that there's not two shoots, because if you fucked up on the first one, that's it anyway. Like, you don't have time. You know?
Yeah. Well, in skydiving you do, because
Yeah,
like
it's kind of yeah.
you're opening so high, but yeah, in base jumping, a lot of times we're opening under 500 feet. Yeah, there's no time for another one.
Yeah.
So, but that's part of the reason why you do open under 500 feet. When I'm skydiving, I open at like 2,500, 3,000 feet because I have the second one, and my first one isn't. It's trash packed. I throw it in the bag in like 8 minutes, just stuff it in there. I got a second one. It's fine. Just put it in the bag. So it's just a different mentality. Like skydiving is a lot like going to the ski hill. You go to the ski hill, you rip a couple laps, you have some beers after. Yep. That's skydiving. Base jumping is like, I don't know. It's a lot more serious. It's a lot more dedicated, and it's a different game.
Yeah, it has to be. The stakes are different. Like, yes. I mean, people die skydiving for sure, but maybe, even get injured and all that stuff. But
they die driving their car too.
That's right. Yeah. It's not, I'm not against any of it, man. So
yeah.
Some people should be skydiving and not driving because they'd be safer.
Probably.
Yeah. Like, do you have like one dream jump?
Not right now at the moment. A lot of the ones I've wanted to do, I've been able to click off. I mean, flying between buildings in Panama was a big one. Crazy. We did that not this summer, but last summer, where we actually jumped out of an airplane. We did 3 jumps. 2 of them was into the city one way, where we had police cordon off a landing area for us in a parking lot. There's literally like police in full SWAT outfits with AR rifles blocking off this parking lot for us to land, which is sick. And then another one, we wanted to go get this other jump between these buildings. There's a big field after it. We didn't really tell anyone. We just rented an airplane and went and did it. And, but yeah, it's Panama, so whatever.
Yeah.
And it was sick. Flew between 2 buildings that are like 30 foot wide. And we flew 3 wingsuits actually between them. And then we all split off different ways. And, that was quite amazing. I guess the next thing on the list for me is 2019, I was in Italy and Switzerland, and that was my first wingsuit season.
Okay.
But the wingsuiting out there is absolutely amazing. So now that I have more experience, this summer, I would like to go back and fly some more technical, some more gnarly lines in Switzerland and Italy.
That's cool.
So that's kind of next on my list.
Yeah, I was like wondering about skill progression and all that kind of stuff. There has to be many levels of like that to climb, right? Like just in the beginning, you're surviving.
Green, blue, black, double black,
Yeah, exactly. Like do you skiing? Because I could only imagine the first time all you want to do is just experience it, okay, and then survive. Yeah. And then
like my first one was Brento, Italy, which was my first wingsuit base jump. It's like a 3,000 or 4,000 foot like vertical cliff. You can literally fly. You could jump just straight down, belly to earth, not move anywhere for like 15 seconds before you hit.
Oh wow!
Like it's vert forever. So it's like that's one of those places where it's a safe progression to learn how to wingsuit base jump.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out something in 15 seconds, you probably shouldn't be there.
I don't think you would be.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no. Yeah, if you can't figure it out, then like that's one of those things too. Everybody who's done it more than once knows what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's an easy sport. It's just hard when you got to do it more than once.
That's right. Yeah. If you want to do it again or make it to dinner, you got to put some thought and effort into it.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. All right, man. I'll cut this here because I've taken up about an hour of your time. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, sponsors or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeti Snow MX. Yeti Snow Bikes has been behind me since I kind of left the rigs, actually, and went into this whole professional athlete career. And Yeti Snow Bikes, we've been able to develop some amazing kits. And if you're ever looking for a snow bike kit, definitely look at a Yeti Snow MX. Scott Sports is my outerwear sponsorship. Dirt bikes and outdoor sleds. Everything outerwear, Scott Sports, Yamaha Motor Canada, Jack Carter Power Sports, RMR Suspensions, and newly Fox Racing for boots and helmets.
Nice.
Pretty stoked on them. all my other sponsorships are available through my posts on Instagram. Check me out at Matechuk111. I'll continue to try and post the most epic content I can. I try to keep my feed to all action and not a lot of bullshit. So I can continue doing that and keeping the hype up.
Nice. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. I want to thank my guests for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. A special thank you to you, my supporters. Without you, this would not be possible. If you enjoyed the show, give it a 5-star rating. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If this is your first time listening, I encourage you to take the 3-episode challenge. Once again, thank you for your continued support, and stay tuned to find out what's coming up next time.